What's up, guys? Austin Blankenship, Rack City MTG, coming at you again with another 8-rack league. We have been on a tear the past two leagues. We went 3-2, but could have easily have been a 4-1. Our opponent drew everything they needed off the top. Last league, we went 4-1, lost a Heartbreaker to a non-meta Demir food deck that we weren't really prepared for in our sideboard, but their other four matches, we beat Hammer Time, we beat Grixis Death Shadow, we beat Crashing Footfalls, the Teamer Football Falls deck, the Rhinos, and beat one more, Esper Reanimator. So four of the probably four of the five most absolutely popular decks right now. Beat them, no problem. Been on a tear tonight. We're going to play one more league. Not sure when this one will be published, but it'll get out there. If it's a 5-0, sooner rather than later. We're going to give our good friend Graveyard Trespasser one more shot. That's right. It looked good one game, looked awful the other. We like its abilities, like that the ward is discard a card specifically. Does a lot. Doesn't look like it does much, but does just a lot of little things for us. So, going to give it the slot for the sideboarded threat for now. I'm considering trying some Karn Scions of Urza in the sideboard, just to synergize better with our Saga tokens, provide us some card draw essentially for the grindier games. I think that's what I'll try next in this slot, but for now, we're going with the Trespasser. Does a couple really good things for the deck. Gains life, exiles cards, sticky removal spell that also sticky card that also requires a removal spell to be a 2-for-1 on themselves. So I like it. It's not perfect. It's not, I don't think, a meta busting card or one that we'll always want, or maybe we might not even want it right now. But it has looked good. It's looked better than pretty much anything that I've played so far. In the past at least month or so. Voidwalker's not looked good. Rotting Regisar, since Unholy Heat became so popular, which is the same problem with Voidwalker, not been very good. They die to spells that our opponents are not boarding out. This one makes Fatal Push difficult. It can get bolted, but it takes bolt and a card. When it flips over, it can't be bolted. So it does a lot of little things, and when it flips and when it attacks as the bigger version of itself, it'll surprise you how solid it is. Watch my other video. The first time it comes into play, it literally wins the game over the course of 2 or 3 turns. So I like it right now. Don't know if it's going to be a forever thing, but going to try it for a few more leagues. But what I'm really excited about this evening is I was complaining earlier that I don't know why they didn't print a good Echoing Decay. And then my haunting dreams of playing the mirror match of Mono Black Aggro in Pioneer came to me, and I realized, oh, they did print a good Echoing Decay. So this card is called Legion's End. So exile target creature an opponent controls with mana value 2 or less, and all other creatures that player controls with the same name as that creature. Then that player reveals their hand and exiles all cards with that name from their hand and graveyard. So it doesn't hit their library. It's not a surgical extraction. But this thing, Crashing Footfalls Rhino tokens, all of them are gone for 2 mana. If the opponent has multiple Dragon Rage Channelers, Esper Sentinels, very efficient. All of them are gone for 2 mana. If same thing with everything for our opposing Saga tokens, because it only says that player controls, so we don't have to worry about, it's not like a true Echoing Truth or Echoing Decay effect where it's every creature in play. So, hits a lot of things. It, of course, hits the Ragavans, and in most cases, it's still a serviceable 1-for-1 removal spell, but it has very high upside. And especially in the world with Lurises and ways to recur from your graveyard in general, like Croxas, all these things that are 2 mana or less. Most creatures being played are 2 mana or less, and then on top of that, it really does a good job cleaning up tokens. I'm really high on this card, hope that it performs as well as I think it will, and we're going to run another league back down to 3 Leyline of the Voids, because we lost our one game from our 5-0 last game because we drew all 4 of our Leylines after not having them in our opener. I like the idea of when Dredge is not meta to only run 3 Leylines, because it's not something with Nihil Spellbomb and things like that. We don't need it for every graveyard deck. We only need it for this turbo fast graveyard decks. So have 3 of them now instead of the 4 that I ran last league. We'll see how that works out. Other things in the sideboard, there is a Cling to Dust now in the sideboard, and there's a Cling to Dust now in the main board. Just filling up those flex slots that I like to run. Esper Reanimator's big right now. Grixis Death Shadow with Kroxa is big right now. Does some good stuff against Snapcaster Mages. You've seen it. This is not a new card. People have been playing it in Rack for, I guess, well over a year now. Probably getting close to 2 years or longer. So, not a new card, but something we're revisiting. And you can see here our pretty 4-1 that we were close to 5-0 last league. I'm afraid that that gameplay might have been corrupted. It only showed up as 33 minutes as it was uploading earlier. So I hope that it didn't do a thing where it only shows the beginning of the league. That would be rough. Sorry, just doing. I know that was weird there. Quick little flip over to make sure it's recording. I've got the sound off in case I get notifications on other apps and things, that it doesn't cause a lot of annoyance for you as the viewer. But excited how things have been panning out. Excited to try the cards. Just ready to play some Rack, man. Enjoying it. Something that if you ever get burned out, I very much so recommend is try hitting the same format from another angle. Like I mentioned in another video, Ad Nauseam is about the farthest thing from 8 Rack as you can get. And we're going to keep this hand. But it gave me an opportunity to think of more areas where the meta's weak. Now I know that not everyone can just get another modern deck. I'm not advocating like from a financial standpoint that that's a great idea, but if it's something you can afford to do and it's something viable for you, go for it. Just try something outside of your wheelhouse, something a little different. I'm going to Thoughtseize this turn. Worried that we're playing against some sort of Hollow One deck. Well, we're playing against a Lightning Skelemental deck. I will say, out of all possible things that a Insolent Neonate could have there, our opponent says Silly Keep. I don't know if it's a Silly Keep or not. I'm just not going to respond to that because I don't want to. I neither want to be right nor wrong in that conversation. if you know, like it's a lose-lose no matter what you answer. Okay, well, the Kroxa is a good target for this Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust once again doing work. Maybe our opponent forgets it's there. This Den of the Bugbear is a very good Magic card. I'm not sure if you've gotten to see this be played very often, but it does a lot of good things for a man land. It's pretty amazing, actually. We're actually going to sacrifice the Mishra's Factory here just to ensure we have double black later. We're going to get rid of this Inquisition. It's unlikely that they're going to have a viable target for that later. But don't really like these Peatlands as much. They do their job. When you know, they that's all I can really say about them. They do what they're supposed to do. This was a Smallpox not to get rid of the Stitcher Supplier, but to get rid of this Den, because the Den will cause us some problems. Like, it could attack this turn, potentially, even. Yeah, so Neonate coming back. Interesting, so they discard a Swamp to get a spell. Okay, got another Neonate. That's fine. Our Thoughtseize is dead here, but this card in their graveyard here can be a very big pain. It's called Thunderkin Awakener. If they draw one of these, we do want to have this Fatal Push up. So okay, they do try to unearth the Thunderkin Awakener here. So before combat, we are going to Fatal Push this thing. Because that thing will get back the Skelemental over and over again. And that will be a very big pain very quickly. It does not take much for that card to get very out of hand, if you know anything about those sorts of decks. Interesting brew from our opponent here. There's nothing that I dislike about the cards they're running or anything. But it's got menace, so it can attack if they want it to. I don't know if they will or not. Yeah, like there's nothing I can do about it. But liked how this game is shaken out so far. We may get a Spellbomb here. Depends on what we draw. We have this Cling to Dust. So we might just get another rack. Try to close the door. Yeah, because we got the 4th land, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to get the rack. Because one Kroxa being drawn or one Lightning Skelemental doesn't kill us. But 2 could be a problem, so I'm glad that we're hitting our land drops here. But I think the writing's on the wall from our opponent. They did let the first rack resolve and took 1 unnecessary extra damage. Opponent scoops it up. Not going to criticize them from keeping that hand. They had a way to. Now knowing what their deck was, I think their hand was fine. But not going to tell them that, because after losing, that's not something that you want to hear typically. So we have a couple decent good cards here. Legion's End is good in this matchup. Graveyard Trespasser is good in this matchup. I think we want the Leyline of the Voids. I do think we want that. I think we want to go down the Smallpoxes regardless. Down the Funeral Charm. Down some Raven's Crimes. And up a Cling to Dust. We'll go down a Pithing Needle instead of the 3rd Raven's Crime. I like that. Got some exile effects. Got some graveyard hate. Should be sitting pretty. I'm thinking about changing the Cling to Dust in the sideboard to a 2nd Spellbomb, but Cling does a good job. People don't run much graveyard hate against us. Raven's Crime is usually not enough for them to bring it in. So, I don't know. There might be a good argument for Bontu's Last Reckoning here, but I don't know. I think that we can kind of, if we disrupt their hand enough early, I think we'll stonewall them with our Construct tokens in the mid game. Oh, just great hand against their deck. They're going to deploy fast. We have the Liliana. If they have a nut draw, we might be in trouble. Like if they go... But really, most of their turn 1 plays are pretty inconsequential from what we saw. Like Stitcher Supplier and Insolent Neonates are really more setups for turn 2. So this is what we're going with. Hopefully it'll pay off. Fatal Pushes and Inquisitions are both fine in this matchup. We don't need Graveyard Hate. You know, we had one good Graveyard Hate spell last game, but... Oh, and there is another one. But I don't think we need to show that just yet. Well, we're definitely just going to get this Blood Moon. Not that, like, Blood Moon hurts them almost as much as us at this point, but I do like the card Unearth a lot, and I'm glad to see people playing that more often. Let's go Spellbomb, hold up a Fatal Push. We can do some different things. If we Spellbomb in response to a Lightning Skelemental, that may be a good play. We're going to hold this thing as long as we can, though, for sure. Okay, Cling to Dust lets us maybe put our shields down a little bit earlier. We'll actually probably just discard that to the Liliana tick up. We don't really care about this Neonate. They're going to sack it eventually anyway once they start getting behind. And as soon as we go to remove it, they'll just sack it, so... Well, let's see what they do here. They just cycle their Unearth? Yeah, that's fine. The good thing about Nihil Spellbomb is, unlike Relic, you don't have to have the mana open to do something like to activate it if you're in a pinch. Like, you don't have to draw the card, so if we get in like a real big pinch here, we have pretty good way out. Also have a way to trigger Revolt against this Den of the Bugbear, too. I think that's fine. I mean, like, we still have our black mana. We're still ticking up with Liliana. And we have our clock that we can cast still, so we're okay with the Blood Moon. Blood Moon's not the end of the world. And we have our basic, too. I think we're fine losing one of these Fatal Pushes for Unknown. Now their Bugbear's turned off. Baleful Mastery is an odd card. But like our position here quite a bit. This card would give us much more trouble than most of the cards in their deck would. The likelihood that they're trapped under their own Blood Moon's probably a little high. Most of their creature threats did look like they were red-based, though. I think Lightning Skelemental is double red. We're just going to hold on to this until the last minute. I'm going to activate this. Okay, our opponent doesn't respond. Odd that they don't just play the... I guess because they're behind on life. But they are dead next in, well, one more turn. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, nothing relevant. Opponent says GG's. We'll just do this. If there's anything relevant, we'll go ahead and exile it. But we don't have to. We got the Dismember back up. No need in blowing that. Have Nihil Spellbomb here. So starting off 2-0. Not quite a meta deck, but looked good. Looked good. I don't mind getting 4 more of those tonight. Been a little bit since Rack went 5-0, so we'll go. If we can go 5-0, that'd be nice. If not, that's fine too. I like what's going on with our deck list. Oh, I didn't realize this guy we played recently. He spoiled one of our 5-0s, so he actually did when I was playing Adnaz. He was the guy that had a bug on against. Same thing with this guy right here. We played against him recently too, so nice to see a lot of and Alan 07. Doomwake's back up there. A lot of familiar faces that we've played recently. Had quite a few 5-0s. Mostly playing, Giovanni. I think he's been a trophy leader before. That might be the other. That might be Pygonti, who I'm thinking of. I'm not sure. Played against Silent Song many times. Mana Symbol we lost to earlier. Spiring Spike, of course, is a pretty famous streamer. A lot of familiar faces on the board this time. Well, opponent, I think, is maybe trying to throw us off with their Ragavan avatar. But I still think we keep this hand. 2 Fatal Push is a little much unless they are a mid-rangey type deck, but hopefully there just isn't Ragavan. Hopefully that's what's going on over there. We'll find out after an Inquisition. What you on, opponent? We're going to get main deck Veil of Summer here. Flusterstorm, maybe? I can see that. Oh, so they're not living in, but what are they? Are they a Phoenix deck, maybe? Probably Reanimator. This is a card that I played. I played a Phoenix deck in paper a couple weeks ago, just messing around with it. This card looked good. It wasn't the best card, but the fact that it has flashback, I mean, kind of makes up for the fact that it doesn't. So this is almost definitely a Phoenix deck. They must have lands on the top, so we're going to get rid of the Manamorphose. It could be a Prismatic, or excuse me, a Pyromancer's Ascension deck. Yeah, they wouldn't have sequenced it that way unless it was. I actually think I'm just firing off the Smallpox here. Hopefully that'll mess their mana up enough. Probably ditching a Fatal Push in this spot. If it is for sure the Phoenix deck, the Fatal Pushes aren't very good anyway. So they discard their second Manamorphose. Yeah, because we did take a Manamorphose. That's good. That should keep them off for a while. They get their second land, but they're off red. We could play... There's a good argument for playing Expedition Map there, but I'm cool with just go ahead and start getting some pressure on. If we draw a land next turn, we're in pretty good shape. This is the biggest reason why I like this spell, the Otherworldly Gaze. You can flash it back. It almost lets you scry at your upkeep. Brazen Borrower seems like an odd choice, but I also understand it, though. I ran a 1-of Brazen Borrower in my sideboard with the Phoenix list that I ran, so there is a Phoenix. So we were right that it's a Phoenix deck. We do have the option to use this map as a pseudo Revolt trigger for Fatal Push, but we'll see how it goes here. Looks like it's maybe the Delve creature. Okay, it is the Murktide Regent. A land here is pretty imperative. No land, but I guess we can just hold this up. No, we want to make this land drop now. We are just going to get a factory, actually. Because we don't want to lose that third land at any point soon. Going to flash back their Gaze. That's a good synergy with Murktide there. So kind of another bonus to run that card, I guess. Big fan of these Jeskai decks, these Jeskai Phoenix lists. Think they do a lot of good things. Okay, I got to back up Liliana if this one goes down. So pretty good shape still. Probably game. Managed to hit all three of our Fatal Pushes, which is a little odd, but a string of Manamorphoses could get them back in it, and that's what it is. So they do have one Phoenix. Okay. Oh, and they can flash back the Gaze, yeah. Huh. Land would be nice. I guess they could cast another spell if they wanted to, yeah, but I don't know why they wouldn't just flash back the Gaze there. Just digging, trying to find another Phoenix, I guess. Oh, they did hit two. I only saw one in the graveyard. So they double attacked me. That's the right move. Huh. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting play line here. What we'll probably want to do is tick up Liliana, get rid of a Fatal Push. We'll play our land. We will play a second Liliana. We'll keep this Liliana. We'll tick down and have them sack a creature. And now our second Fatal Push is revolted. So if they string together 3 spells next turn, they got us. But if not, we're doing pretty good. Like how that one played out. This could be a tough matchup game 1, so I won't be brokenhearted if we don't pull this one out. But I would be ecstatic if we do. I've not seen any Demi-Liches yet. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Faithful Mending is an instant speed spell. Are they just prismatic ending? Yeah, it's fine. I think it's right to just uptick here. They're running main deck Aria Flame. That's kind of interesting, but I don't know. I don't know about that one. Yeah, upticking there does make us have to sacrifice our Liliana this turn to survive, but okay, that works out very well. So next turn, they basically have to get the Phoenixes back, which is not impossible, but they're missing, I think, 3 of their Manamorphoses now. Yeah, they're missing 3 Manamorphos, so it's much more difficult. If they cast a spell, we have lethal. Okay, so they do that to gain some life here. So any discard spell, if they're smart, they just keep a land in hand there. But Raven's Crime gets them anyway. Got him. That's a tough matchup, game 1. It's a powerful deck. It's very resilient to removal, but we were able to get the right things at the right time, so awesome. I'm going to bring in these Leylines. They're actually pretty good here. I know that they looked fine this game, but the Fatal Pushes and the Smallpoxes are pretty bad. The Funeral Charm's awful. Let's go down 2 of the Raven's Crimes. And we'll go up Trespasser, Trespasser, Bontus, Bontus, Cling, and we'll go down 1 Smallpox. Smallpox is still probably better than Sudden Edict. You could maybe convince me to go down or go up more edicts. This is not the perfect hand against what they're doing, but it has a lot of game to it, so I'm willing to keep this hand. Guessing we probably get Flusterstorm this turn, but maybe not. Their deck usually doesn't do a whole lot on turn 1. Usually you're trying to consider or something like that. So Faithful Mending, Prismatic Ending, Lava Dart, Lightning Bolt. Prismatic Ending's their most flexible spell as the game goes on, so let's get rid of that. The rest of the cards in their hand, we don't care too much about. You could have maybe talked me into Cling to Dusting their, like Thoughtseizing with the plan of Cling to Dusting their Faithful Mending here, but I like just threatening the Spellbomb, and then when they Faithful Mending here, we'll just Cling to Dust it. Because that way we have okay, so they're not even gonna bother Faithful Mending. Got it. Got it. Well, we're definitely not cracking our Spellbomb until they make us. Let's just Thoughtseize them again, I guess. I mean, we'll just get a Bolt. Saves us a damage. on a turn that it might matter. Keeps them from casting a spell. Faithful Mending here is fine. Let's see what they discard. If they discard a Phoenix, we'll cling to dust the Phoenix instead. Okay. I do think we're going to cling the Faithful Mending. Gets them a little less value. We still have the Nihil Spellbomb if things go really awry, but... So, it's an Aria Flame game. Got it. Well, I think we can race Aria pretty well. That's the good news. Kind of want that second Lava Dart to hit the bin before we think about cracking this Spellbomb. Opponent might just straight up, you know, be playing around a few things of ours too. Like be playing around our racks. We'll get them a little bit low here. We'll put a little bit of pressure on because the Aria Flame, if you want to read it, it gets out of hand fairly quickly, but it's definitely not. We can race this, especially with us if they had a way to prevent us from gaining the life, maybe it would be good, but. In this matchup, that is. But, you do got to watch out for it. Like, it is a very real card. They put 2 out of their 3 cards on top, which means they did like something on top there. Probably just a cantrip. Yeah, anything that replaces itself here is pretty good. They Thought Scour me. Never mind. Do they? No, they do. They Thought Scour me. Weird, okay. That we're fine with that. Like that buys them some time, but it's not putting any pressure on us. They can bolt this. Now they can't, so surprised by that decision for sure. I guess, did they lose both their bolts? Maybe they did. I don't know. I'm just going to Inquisition them here, though. So they're just going. They're trying to kill me, which makes sense. Yeah. Is that the only card in their graveyard? It's tempting to crack this. Let's crack them. Oh, because they do have a Lava Dart, too. Let's crack them for 1, then. We're just going to exile their graveyard. If they want to sack a land, they can sack a land, but I think they're in trouble here. Okay, yeah, the reason why we did that is because we had a lethal next turn, and I think the only way they can kill us is string a bunch of spells together, so 2-0 there, too. Good game so far. Deck's looking pretty good. Hard to judge, neither of those decks. I think the Phoenix deck has game to it, but the worst thing for the Phoenix deck was for the Reanimator deck to get popular. Now we just all have Graveyard Hate ready. Going up against Kaya tonight. Might know we're on 8 rack. She's a very good Eldrazi Tron player typically, and was hanging out in Mana Symbol's chat earlier. If we can get her, we'll be doing pretty good. Very good Magic player. Got their own Urborg, so that's relevant. Ballista for 1. Don't much care about that. Let's just keep attacking their hand. We'll get rid of our Lochtwain. Going to try to put the pressure on them before they can assemble much. Guessing they probably have kept 2 lands here, but we might kill this Ballista before it starts getting out of hand. We're going to Funeral Charm the last card out of their hand here. And hope that they don't draw a 3rd land to pop their Blast Zone. So they had a Warping Whale. No 3rd land would be great, or 4th land would be great here. Chalice on 1, probably a little too late for that to matter. Just get the Pithing Needle, name the Blast Zone. We'll pass the turn from there. I was going to say, fine with trading with the Ballista there. Or don't really care too much about the Reshaper. Reshaper also plays good defense. Just going to string a bunch of Sagas together here. Or racks together. Should be able to close out the game. Sagas, racks, that combination of cards. We do have to block here. In case they set up a turn of Dismember. Chalice of the Void we don't care about. Yeah, that's fine. Got plenty more where that came from. Opponent probably just planning on holding cards to keep from dying from this rack, which is understandable. Like I said, very good Magic player across from us. Get to see a lot of our deck here, too. Just get another rack, I guess. They have to block here. Eldrazi Temple, they'll just put that in play. I think we've kind of gone over, or got underneath their Chalice at this point, but... Yep. Okay. Got that one pretty easy. Like I said, very, very good Magic player across from us here. The next 2 games will be very difficult. We want to bring in Void Mirrors. They're not free wins, but they're pretty good in the matchup. Funeral Charm is not good typically. I think, like I said, she was on Mana Symbol's stream earlier and they were talking about Rack. Probably knew what deck we were on. It's why they kept that hand. If I was betting, not a lot from here. I guess we don't really need the Spellbomb. We could get a... Legion's End is not great in the matchup. We'll get a Sudden Edict. It's got text at least. So, plays around Chalice on 1 a little bit better. I think I'm going to keep this hand. It's close. We just can never play this Urborg, though. Thoughtseize is really nice, so we know what we're working against. We probably are going to take... We're going to take the Ratchet Bomb in this spot. We got the removal spell for the Ballista. Void Mirror should keep them off for a while. Just subconsciously here, just remind me, never play this Urborg. Now the Ballista can't really attack. I mean, if it wants to attack, we'll let it. Reality Smasher is a good draw there from our opponent. Yeah, we're going to try to go over the top of this Smasher, though. Think we're just going to get the Expedition map here. And we are going to name Blast Zone with this one. It's the most likely card for them to pick up against us. And we're just going to sit back for a minute. Ballista gets a counter. Inquisition U. Take the map. We're just going to Fatal Push this guy. Yeah, going to deal us 2. Can't play these Urborgs out. No point in it. So we're just going to pass the turn. Maybe we need to start attacking there. Opponent asks, how many copies of Urborg are we on? Don't blame them for that question. It's a good question. I think we're just going to keep doing this. We'll probably pop the map at instep. Get a Saga of our own now since the clock sped up a little bit. We'll get a Dismember. Protects us for a bit. I think we're going to cash this Peatland in. Okay, Dismember's good. Have a lot of respect for our opponent. Good Magic player. We are just going to Dismember that. So, 3-0, beat one of the best. Beat one of the better Magic players in Modern right now. So, 3-0, 6-0. Deck is running hot. Deck is running hot. So, when I play against people who I know, like if you look here, she's 4th right now on the leaderboard. But don't know. I wonder if I'm not sure why she was asking about our Urborg. I don't know if that was a mind game thing to try to get us to be like, oh, and like fetch out Urborg. Not sure. Opponent's very, very clever person, very good at Magic. Might have just been asking for their own deck building constraints because mana bases are similar with Urza's Saga. And wanting to be able to tap Urza's Saga for mana. But 3-0, 6-0 is where we want to be. Good start to the night. Good start. Good finish, I guess. So we'll take 3-2s in here. We're not ashamed of it, but of course we want the 5-0. Take 4-1s as well. So 3-0 starting out where we like to be. I don't know about this hand. Hand does good things, but it's a lot of Sagas. I mean, I guess we've kind of built the deck around Saga. It's a Cat Oven deck. Maybe we can surprise them with our 1-of Cling to Dust here. I'm going to get Justice played on me because I played a Cat Oven deck against an 8-rack deck the other day. And it was pretty miserable for the 8-rack player, I'll just be honest. Well, we can only get the Loam here, which sucks. But we do have a way to get rid of the Loam if they decide to not dredge it next turn. So that's also good, though. Little this, little that, I guess. Okay, it's the Doomwake's food deck that he worked on with Willowgeist. Willowgeist is very powerful in this deck if you haven't read it. Here's your chance to. So there's the oven. I've played against this deck and had this interaction come up enough that, generally speaking, I know how this works. Not sure why they wouldn't attack us for one there, but it's pretty free to do so. We'll just go ahead and play one of the Sagas out. It's doubtful Liliana does much. Squirrel is very good. This is actually a card that I ran in my deck as well. So neat that they've picked up on that synergy too. Kind of goes bananas with this Cauldron Familiar. Okay, so now they're going to get in on time. Okay. Well. Thanks, homie. Okay. They seem pretty intent on doing this main phase for some reason. There's no reason. I can just wait till my end step. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't, but they. Oh, this is perfect. So now we don't even have to waste our mana. So they crack that. Now we cling to dust the cat in response. No more cat for you. Stop throwing the stupid cat in the oven. Hopefully we can get them to commit a lot to this Ravenous Squirrel next turn. I think push is where we want to be in case they start hardcasting Street Wraiths. We'll see if they do anything at blocks. Yeah, we're just going to Fatal Push it now, but always good to let your opponent have as much time to do something that maybe doesn't make sense as possible. That seems like that was probably their line anyway, was to activate its ability to sacrifice. I think it could sacrifice itself, yeah, to draw a card. Neat little synergy there. So loan from the hand and 3 unknowns. Don't think Rat gets us very far in the current spot we're in. Probably Needle on Underworld Cookbook, maybe? Not sure. Well, we know about the Witch's Oven, but we lose to the Underworld Cookbook if they got it. So we're not going to name the oven, we're going to name the Underworld Cookbook. We'll be disciplined. I don't like naming that, but here we are. Because we do know that the oven is in play, so would have been more optimal maybe to have named it, but because I feel like that we're ahead in how this game is working out. And I feel like with Life from the Loam, the rack plan is not exactly where we want to be. We'll probably sandbag this third Saga as well. So they're going to do that and draw a card, which is fine. Probably cast their Life from the Loam this turn. I do like our little main deck Graveyard Hate has come in pretty big in a lot of situations. They're clearly also a Saga deck. really not sure if I even want to waste the 1 life to Inquisition them here, but I'm going to. Might be a mistake. We don't have to take damage off our Peatland anymore. We're doing generic stuff. Okay, so that was the correct decision. We're going to get rid of the Asmo. We can tap this for green now because the Yawgmoth is in play. We can get in there for 3. Things going pretty well so far. Surprised our opponent not going to start loaming, but they probably will this turn. Maybe they just hard cast the Oval Chase Daredevil, though. I don't know. Thinking that it can block the constructs pretty well, can carry a sword pretty well. I don't know. They might. Bloodghast can't really do anything right now. At least it's like it can't block, so it's pretty far away from being very impactful, but because this can tap for green now, this is how we're going to do this. Yeah, we're just going to get a rack. This last Saga can get an expedition map. Might be a while before the rack's relevant, though. Maybe could have got in an extra 2 there by activating the Mishra's factory, but I don't know. I don't think that's the game plan we're on. Because if they want to, they can gain a pretty decent chunk of life back this turn. If they go to equip this Bloodghast, we'll probably just dismember it. Okay, that one's annoying. It does a really good job blocking typically. So you can just wait for the oven to proc and then sack the food and everything. But I think our Saga tokens are big enough where we're starting to get out of dodge here. Yeah, absolutely no reason for our opponent to crack that now. Going to be a while before they can get in with this Bloodghast, so I don't know. I mean, we're just going to block. There's no reason for us not to block. Just means they have a land drop that they can make in hand. If they have some weird trick, we can just dismember this too. Okay, they just concede because they're not. Okay. Not sure what type of trick they were trying to act like they had there, but they did not have it against us. So, Leylines, Trespassers, Pithing Needle, Cling, down the crimes. Funeral Charm is okay. It'll be one of the last cuts if we cut one. Definitely, I think the last 3 is just Smallpox. I like that. I like the 3 Leylines instead of the 4, too. Well, liking what's happening so far. Liking it a lot. I think we're probably unfavored in this matchup. So that game 1 is pretty big. It's the Golgari food deck that, like I said, I think Doomwake is really the main proprietor of the deck. It probably, if they're running the Willowgeist version, it probably means they're also running the Feasting Troll King, which is the thing that really gave us a lot of fits in our last loss, where we went 4-1 in the league before. So curious how our opponent's deck actually plays out against us. The Cauldron Familiar itself can be a major, major nuisance if left unchecked. They don't have a really strong way to abuse it. So despite there being a Leyline in this hand, I want to mulligan it because it's not really a playable Magic hand, though. I am also going to mulligan this one, though. I think this one's a little bit better. We can keep this. We'll send a Urborg and a Swamp back. This is enough hate that we should be okay. Oh, so they just Inquisition us. That's annoying. They took the Needle. Which is wise. The Needle's the best card in the matchup, probably. Does playing the Factory actually do anything this turn? I don't think so. The likelihood that we attack with Factory next turn is so small. And the likelihood that we kill an Asmo instead is pretty high. Okay, just going to make a food. That's cool. Didn't really give us anything that we needed to worry about exiling. Yep, there's the Asmo. I'm going to tutor up the second cookbook. Just going to pull it up here so it reminds myself. They knew about the Fatal Push there, but they probably just don't have much else going on. Knowing that we're a hand disruption deck too, you know, like I guess it's you might as well play the cards. You're going to lose them one way or the other. Might as well deplete our on the board resources more. Play that. We'll play our rack here. Gives us a pretty good clock against our opponent. They know about the cling, so they'll play around as much as they can, I'm sure. It seems like they've been trying to like bait out some removal spells too, so not sure exactly what's happening here. Opponent's line of playing that Asmo into a known Fatal Push doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I'm thinking maybe there's a reason for it. I think it's always smart to, you know, assume that your opponent has a plan. Because if they're playing Magic at 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time on a work week, yeah, so there's a plan card right there. Card does a lot more damage than, so they discard their other food token. Yeah, that's fine. Still unsure what their plan is here. Of course, we top deck the Leyline. This is why I'm not a big fan of this card in these grindy matchups like this. This play gives us all of our abilities. We'll cling to dust a Troll King over a token. I'm gonna look up Troll King on my phone real quick and make sure I think they can do it anytime on their turn, not just a sorcery. So we do have to be careful with that. We might, if they don't play a land here, we might activate and block with Factory. Well, we played it this turn, so we won't do that. The opponent plays, so now because they played the land, we wouldn't have blocked with the Factory anyway. Definitely, our opponent's definitely telegraphing to us that they have a Troll King. But they know about our Cling to Dust, so I mean, that's just fine. That actually is very, very good for us. I'd rather that happen than. So this attack would make me absolutely believe that the last card in hand was a Troll King. Regardless here, we are going to get the second Needle on Cookbook. I guess you could on Feasting Troll King instead. Okay, so now there's really not anything they can do to keep us from killing this squirrel. There's nothing for them to sack. So you can kill that squirrel for free. Now we can start beating down. So they don't really have a way to make a third food for Troll King. They're a long ways away from casting the Troll King. We're not going to Thoughtseize them anytime soon to give them an opportunity to discard a card. Shock tells me they plan on double food activation. Don't know. Or maybe they play a spell, but the Pithing Needle's on the Underworld Cookbook, so a lot of their game plan is shut down here. Yeah, just not sure what they could have at instant speed. Except more Assassin's Trophies. Alright, that's fine. Don't much care about food being sacked here for life. Okay. We got a lot of power in play. Don't want to give them a free discard outlet in case that's a Troll King or something in their hand. So we're just going to get in there. It's a 2-turn clock as it stands, so that lets us keep up the Cling to Dust as well. Okay, so 4080 running the gauntlet today. Run in the gauntlet. Tell you what, if I can manage to go 5-0, I will think very hard about going to SCG Con in a few weeks with this deck. We've ran hot. I like the current configuration, but I don't know. I like where we're at right here. Think it's looking pretty good. I think that if we were playing ad nauseum, I think we would be 3-0 right, or 3-1 right now, more than likely. Don't think we could have beat Eldrazi Tron. But like where this is at, I live pretty close to Roanoke. It's a couple-hour drive, so that might be something I seriously consider. If it is, I'll start getting your all speed back. I don't think this would be the 75 I would take to that event. Typically speaking, the meta is still a lot of pet decks when you go to big events like that. Like me considering going with the rack. So you're not going and necessarily facing the same 20% of the top meta here until you get towards the end of the finals. You start seeing more and more. Usually you get a couple of deck specialists who dominate with their deck in the that make it their way up. Like you have the Tom Rosses who play one or two decks that are maybe meta, maybe not, and just very good Magic players, very good at their deck. They pile up like Caleb Shearer, guys like that who are like archetype specialists who are just masters of a certain archetype who have a chance if they run hot, they're just going to run hot because they're not going to make any mistakes. So you have guys like that. But yeah, in the blind, Kitara Hokori. I think I recognize this name. So it is a Kahira deck. So probably is elementals. Does that change whether or not we keep this hand or not? I don't think so. I've actually not played this specific matchup. I think we send back an Urborg. It does keep them from in a late game situation if they have griefs from casting it. Opponent does seem like they were thinking about evoking something there, so kind of confident this could be just blue-white control as well. Okay, it looks like it's blue-white control actually. Which card is this? It's Fire Ice. So it's actually is or Jeskai control. We would really like to see an ice at our untap here. That means that they didn't draw a counter spell. Yep, that's fine. Oh, that means we're free to play this Saga too. This might win us the game right here. Especially if our opponent doesn't realize what Inquisition, Expedition Map, Saga means. I like just continuing to play here. Inquisition can't get the Solitude. Them casting Solitude can be annoying, but we're a ways off. You play the long game here. We're going to get a rack in this situation. That does give away what deck we're on, but we have access to the next Saga already with the map, so we can't get the map. Notably, they can now cast their Solitude, and if we're not careful, that could be a blowout. So we probably just don't attack next turn. If they draw the 5th land, we won't attack, that is. Okay, they did draw the 5th land. Actually, we can just attack now. We can just play the Spellbomb like that. Because even after they exile one, it doesn't trade with the other. So we knew this was coming. It's the only play our opponent had this turn. Yeah. We'll see if they're willing to... Okay, so they're not going to block, though. That lets us get in 4 damage that we wouldn't have got in. I imagine we've not given them any indication that they should play defensively here. Okay, that one's annoying. That was like what probably the Pithing Needle should have went for, but instead of getting a rack, but didn't know for sure if that's what they had or not. So you live and you learn. Or more so, that's tempting. The Smallpox is, but I think that hurts us as much as it hurts them in this situation, so we'll make them just have the next Teferi lined up. Yeah, because we'll be able to make both Saga tokens before they can tick this Teferi down once. Solitude's a good design Magic card. Obviously, we don't like to see it right now, but was going to ask what I thought the likelihood of us seeing Kahira to hand play Kahira was right there, but doesn't look like that's what it's going to be. Okay. This lets us cast a spell. Get a little more information out of our opponent. Make them take a game action here. Don't really know if there's anything for them to do. Just counterspell. That's fine. There's a pretty high likelihood that was the card we would take anyway. Okay, so now they get to scry too. That's fine. We'll see where they scry at. A little more quiet, a little more focused this game. It's kind of how you have to be when you're in it for the marbles, right? So one bottom, one top. The one top is a little bit concerning because I can't imagine that they, well, frankly, that they top anything else besides a Teferi here. Like it would have to be pretty good. Just Memory Deluge. Odd that they're casting that in their main. Probably just to find a land. Opponent seems like they're probably a pretty experienced player. The name sounds extremely familiar. If you're out there and you know who our opponent is, let me know for sure. But I'm fairly certain that they're a very well-known player. Land would be the ideal draw here to let us start casting some of our spells, but okay. So they are on the Protect Teferi train. So that means that they almost definitely don't have another Teferi. In hand, at least. They might just be aware of how good it is with the way that the game is lining up here. It's actually pretty crucial. So we'll name the Teferi Time Raveler. And now we'll get to Inquisition as well. I like our spot here. Think we've been able to control them a little bit while getting some good threats in play and not having to play into a lot of their counter magic. Still not sure if they have us on an 8-rack deck, or like I said, if this is just kind of a one-of. Don't know about the prismatic ending there. They probably think that that's a one-of, so that's probably a pretty... Okay, so Solitude, Supreme Verdict. Done. Okay. What we're going to do here is we're just going to attack the Teferi. I don't think the 4 damage will be that important. Okay, that's good. So that makes their next prismatic ending worse. And they can't. That means they also can't cast that at instant speed. There's no reason for them to not get an attack step in with their Solitude, though, beforehand. Opponent's definitely in the tank here. They are in an odd situation. They do have a win condition in their Hall. Hall is a very good late game beater. The Ward 3 is a pretty big chunk. Safe from a lot of our spells. They play... Wow, they played Steam Vents. Okay. We're just going to... well, we know that they don't have much. that they could only flashback Deluge or play Solitude in this spot. They can get rid of their Hall. So we know that they have Solitude and Supreme Verdict. So we'll make them play pretty correctly here. And what their game plan probably here is just flash in Solitude and exile one of our tokens and block the other. Yep. We're going to Raven's Crime them again. And this still gives us the option to activate this thing and protect. Okay, so they go ahead and fire off their Memory Deluge. Probably going to keep both the cards in their hand and pitch back. Find one they really want, one they don't care about, or even one maybe even better, like a Memory Deluge that they want in the graveyard for some value here off this. Pretty good Magic card here. They definitely were playing more around the Spellbomb there, which kind of lets me know that they were a little bit nervous about how the game's going at this point. See how much mana they have next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9. So they do have plenty enough to Supreme Verdict and flash in a Solitude, so that's a bit scary. So now they get to discard whatever's most relevant to them. So they discard the Solitude, which is very interesting, because that seemed like that was one of their better plays to make. But I guess they have the Arden Veil. Yep, we kind of knew that one was coming. It had to eventually. A Jace here would be rough. Big Teferi is also not great. Yeah, knowing that Big Teferi's in their deck now, Pithing Needle on Little Teferi seems a little bit worse, but I probably still would have named it at the time. Okay, so we don't know of anything that could be there. But just in case, we're going to Inquisition. If we can pick off a Lightning Helix here, that's great. Counterspell is also fine. Fire this up. We're going to attack Teferi for 2 here. Attack the Hero Dominaria. And we're not going to be able to outrace that card draw with 2 damage each turn and Shrieking Affliction. Once again, opponent has 2 cards at hand, so pretty effectively does nothing. The way the game's played out, they can protect it pretty well, though, with the Arden Veil. So I can play the Kahira, cast the Kahira. Yep, play and cast the Kahira. Does that give them enough to do this? It does. So it is a bit of a folly to think we're going to kill this Teferi anytime soon. Let's not let them know that we can crank this Mishra's Factory up. They might decide they want to counterspell this. See what they do here. It's very likely that they just play a 1/1 blocker. They may Lightning Helix it here, though. This will be a very tough match. Okay, so that probably means they're casting Deluge at our instep. It's surprising, but it's not. Target player draws 2. Yeah, there's no need for them to control any of our permanents, I guess. Opponent probably smart enough to know that, or well, I shouldn't say smart enough, well versed in Magic enough to know that they can't get the rack with that. And to know that that's like just not a very good win condition anyway. The Prismatic ending there will likely be the end of the game. Because we're 4-0, I'm going to play it till the bitter end. They're just going to bounce the Shrieking Affliction. That's fine. Play Chalice on 1. Okay. That does prevent us from recasting our Shrieking Affliction. They still have enough to activate their Castle Ardenvale next turn, so a bit annoying that they can do that. Let's fire off the Smallpox. We'll pitch the Shrieking Affliction since we can't cast it and sack the Urborg. Let's see what they do about this one. Notably, we can't use the Raven's Crime because of Chalice on 1. This does get us ahead 1 card, but in the face of all this card advantage, we probably will lose. It'll take quite a bit for us to not lose, probably. Okay, with sacking this Urborg here, in the odd situation where they could use the black mana for a prismatic ending. I think they've had 3 out of their 4, maybe just 2. No, they have had 3 out of their 4 so far. Opponent is pretty far from winning the game, though. We still have a lot of live outs to this spot. If our opponent runs their mouth or says anything, we'll just tell them, like, hey, we're 5-0 or we're 4-0. We're going for the 5-0. We got to play it to the bitter end. So I just go start firing those up. That's fine. They're just doing that so that they can get a fast clock on us here. We still have plenty of ways we can get out. We can use this factory defensively for a few turns. At this point, we're okay with the clock win. Yep. The Hall is a bit different. Hall wins games pretty fast. Now's the time to cycle this thing. Hall's untapped now. I guess we'll try to slam the Liliana here. It'll get countered almost for sure. You just uptick, discard our Funeral Charm here. Okay, so they can get rid of that. That's fine. Get rid of our Funeral Charm. We'll just F6 here. Once again, I'm not about clocking my opponents, but when I'm 4-0 and the getting the rack of 5-0 is on the line, we don't care to clock our opponents once. They're playing quite slowly as well. Where Chalice on 1 is getting so much popular in the meta again, I think it might be time to run a Hex Parasite in the sideboard. Just something to think about. Well, we do have 2 blockers. It's not enough to win the game, but it's enough to buy a turn. But once again, it's playing rather slow. So if that's the game that they want to play, then we're fine with it. Basically, each turn has been about a minute or so. This will still be a creature until end of turn. Opponents just go ahead and losing themselves a few more minutes off the clock here. That's fine with us. I'm going to tap it. Yep, that's fine. And we'll just F6 through it. Well, if we win game 2, we'll probably win the match. And you hate to get wins that way, but also, I don't have a problem with punishing a player who is taking advantage of the fact that they can be a better control deck by putting less win cons in their deck. So don't feel too bad about that. And for you guys out there too, like if your opponent is blatantly just taking advantage of the fact that, like I said, they are able to do that, don't just go ahead and, make them play it out when it's in competitive situations like this. It's for the 5-0. When they do that and their deck takes up that much time, same with like Lantern Control and things like that, and on top of that, if they're also playing slowly, just go ahead and make them make them play, make them win. It's not something I do normally in just a league, but like I said, we're 4-0. So that's what we're doing today. If our opponent, they want to go to time, that's on them. They only have 10 minutes to win at least one of 2 games. If we had won the game, that would have, they would basically have had no chance because we could just sandbag the entire game 2 intentionally and play that way. But we do have a little bit of pressure on us to play and play well this game 2. I would almost say that like because they took so long that we're about tied like 1-1. Opponent is probably taking themselves a long break here and caffeinating up so that they can focus and crank this one out. But like I said, that's nothing wrong with it. That's how we're going. Definitely getting tired myself at this point. This league's lasted a little bit longer than I thought, and we've also won more than I thought. So stayed up a bit longer. Hey, you know, if we get a clock win, we get a clock win. If we don't, 4-1's fine. Is there anything else here while I'm thinking about it that I want? I mean, like things like Bontu's Last Reckoning are not good in the matchup. We are not going to be on the play. This is one of the matchups where we do want the extra card. Pretty good hand. Not the greatest, but it does good against some of their if they're trying to play fast hands. So we'll go with that. The likelihood that if the game starts going bad that our opponent scoops pretty fast is probably pretty high. Prismatic Ending, Dress Down, Solitude. We're just going to take the Dress Down here. It has the potential to kill our Saga tokens and a cantrip. I don't see anything right now that I need to be too worried about. Let's play Map. And we'll play the first Pithing Needle on Teferi, or on Teferi Time Raveler, I mean. He's the bigger beating. We can just F6 from this point. Opponent doesn't hit a land, they may just scoop. They may be choosing which one of these two to Prismatic Ending, but right now we're in a pretty good position. Okay, they did hit their land. They do just go ahead and Prismatic Ending, that's fine. Don't know why they... I guess they have to shock in that situation if they want to also hold up Counterspell. Bit surprised by that if that's the case, but... So they have gone runner on their land drops. They're probably running a pretty high density of land drops, though. So that's not surprising. Yep, so we'll just keep doing the thing here. We could be really cheeky and get the Pithing Needle on Flooded Strand. Okay, they figured that out a little quick there, that I could do that potentially. Yeah, but we are going to get Pithing Needle on Teferi Hero. Yeah, we're going to get the Teferi Hero. We're going to Inquisition here. Yeah, we will just be taking... So they do have Supreme Verdict. That's a... Well, we didn't know about that before, too. But we will just be taking the Kahira in this spot. Unfortunately, the Supreme Verdict makes our Construct tokens much worse. But it also makes our Smallpox a little bit better, too. Yep, that's fine. This hand lines up pretty well now. We can Thoughtseize. Probably take the Prismatic Ending here. We'll play the Factory, and I think we're going to Smallpox here as well. Puts them a long way from casting any of their cards. At least any of their meaningful ones. They've gotten really lucky going runner on land so far this game, so... Yep, target player draws 2, that's fine. Didn't hit a land, that's great. Now we can Thoughtseize, probably get rid of that Solitude. Yeah, that's kind of their last threat. They have a pretty high likelihood of timing out this game if they can't kill us pretty quickly, or can't draw some lands here. I imagine they probably scoop. We'll just keep criming them. Good old classic Pox versus Miracles. That's what this one feels like. I mean, if you have the 2 damage, you have the 2 damage. It's fine. Yep. Like you either have to cast it or cycle it eventually. Okay, that's fine. We're just going to play that land. That land's a pretty good land for us. That's a land that will let us start pulling ahead on cards here later if we need to. That's fine as well. Okay, that's a good one. That's a spicy one. I don't know if they'll be able to beat this card. Hopefully I don't have to show it to them, though. They've had a lot of They have had a lot of draws here. Let's play this before we show them the Saga. Just in case they have Snapcaster, we'll do Archmage's Charm, yeah. Yeah, we'll play our Saga now. In pretty great shape. I wonder if they knew about the ward. They did. Opponents coming after us still. They've not showed me anything that makes me think that they can win the game from here, but Engineered Explosives on 1. That's a good one. Yep, that's fine. We still have our map that we'll probably get off this Saga. Them not hitting their 5th land is great. Means no Teferi. Land for us is also great. Means we can just get an Expedition map and do it all over again. Oh, excuse me, we cannot. Is our Expedition map in exile? Oh, yeah, they did exile it at the very beginning of the game, didn't they? What we're going to do is we're going to crime them then. Just run them out of cards. Attacking them on multiple axes here. Imagine if they don't have the 5th land here, there's a good chance they scoop it up. I'm just consistently... They did have the Supreme Verdict, that's fine. Consistently shocked about how... resilient they've been here. Let's get a prismatic ending this time. Doesn't look like they have a Snapcaster. Surely this will show them that the writing's on the wall, though. Okay, they just concede from there. Good stuff. So now they have 6 minutes to win a game 3, potentially. They probably should have scooped a few minutes earlier than that, to be honest. But don't blame them. It wasn't clear that we had a way to win. I just think it felt clear that they definitely couldn't win in that 6-minute time frame. Fatal Push's not hitting Solitude is a little bit annoying. Because they'll probably be relying on their creatures pretty heavy to close out the game at this point. That being said, there might be something for a couple Sudden Edicts here. Let's do a couple Sudden Edicts over that and a Shrieking Affliction. Did we get it submitted in time? We did not. Oh well. Curious if they decide to take the play or the draw here. Habit says take the play. Of course, because I took the draw, that makes them think maybe that... Okay, they did choose to not play first. I think that's the correct choice. I think the 1 damage here is kind of inconsequential. So they discard the Supreme Verdict, meaning that that's, they know that that's their main out here is combat damage. This turn, let's just start criming them to death. Pitch an Urborg. The less resources they have, the slower they have to play. Pitch a Peatland. They lose their Prismatic Ending. Okay. This one's going to come down to the wire no matter what. We definitely have to play this very tight. Yes, we will. That play is pretty aggressive. It makes me think that they need their land drops here. Crime again. I think we're okay with criming again with this Lochtwain. Crime again. Play that. Play the expedition map. I think we're in great shape here. Don't know that for certain, but I think we are. I think we've basically ridded ourselves of their prismatic endings. At least I hope. Okay, rest in pieces. It's good. It's not amazing against us. No third land is awesome, though. Yeah, we're just going to pass, make a token. Great. This makes me feel a lot better, too. I don't think we're going to be relying on the clock to win. I think they're just in trouble. Which is the exact thing we want them to be in, right? Same thing, we're going to get Pithing Needle on Teferi Time Raveler here. That's the best way for them to win. That's basically how they get out of this spot. So dress down's fine. It happens. We'll be getting our other Urza Saga soon. Yep, quite literally this turn. Once again, able to put some pressure on them through the lands. This is an example that I do think Alpine Moon is a bit better if you have the choice between Alpine Moon and Urza Saga. Yep, that's fair from our opponent. Okay, we'll save this Smallpox until they play their threat out. They discard another Rest in Peace, that's fine. Oh, we'll just Dismember on their turn. Maybe not. We may wait. So Jace. Now we know about a Jace at least. Let's keep their exile pulled up and our exile so that we know what our main outs are here. We still do have one Pithing Needle in the deck so that we could Pithing Needle for Jace. But regardless, okay, so there's their main win con. It's going to be Hall of the Storm Giants here. We do want to keep our third land for that card. So let's see, how many does it take to activate that? It takes 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're 2 turns away from activating that card. Which Dismember does not kill it. Notably. Smallpox could buy us time, but Fatal Push does kill it. EE on 1. That's actually not that bad. So I actually think that we just save this Peatland here. They start getting aggressive, making some 1/1s, and that's fine. We really only care about the 7/7. That's fine. We'll wait till they're in step and we will dismember their Kahira. That does time walk them a turn with killing us. I would hate to get a clock win here. That's not the type of player I try to be, but also under the same breath, play a little bit faster, man. That's my real opinion of it, but is what it is. Very surprised that they made the decision to crack that here. Less surprised now. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We can still activate an ability in response, which we will do. Because that will be our land drop next turn no matter what. I think we like Smallpoxing here over Liliana. We definitely do. We can get rid of our Cling to Dust as well. So they've managed to counter the spell. That's fine. We can't Fatal Push the Hall of the Storm Giants until we can get rid of that Teferi. Jace can easily run away with the game here. There comes the Hall. Yep. That's potentially lethal next turn. The Smallpox we really wanted to resolve there. Okay, that's actually not as bad as it seems. Okay, we can't play this how I would like to play it. So we've got a Fatal Push here and then pass. Unfortunately. They crank up the Hall. If they have a removal spell, they'll win the game. At this point, we can continue to fog them, but would not be a very satisfying win if that's how we do it. It's definitely Pithing Needle. It has to be Hall of the Storm Giants. But it doesn't matter. We'll lose no matter what, I think, from this spot. Yep. Telling opponent, sorry that we made them play so long game one. But at 4-0, you got to play it out. It's all right, 4-1. We were 4-0, 8-0 up to this point. Pretty bad matchup for us. But we did manage to go 4-1 again with 8-rack for the billionth time. The deck is the best 4-1 deck in the format. Didn't really do anything there wrong. The only thing maybe we did technically wrong is we didn't just try to slow play our opponent. If you wanted to go from like a pure like trying to win a like major online tournament perspective, but that's not who we are, you know? Like, that's not what we're doing here. But I hope you enjoyed this video, though. 4-1 we're happy with, for sure. Especially when it's a deck that's definitely not a meta deck, but looked good. That's 2 back-to-back 4-1s where we've handled all the meta decks that we've played against. So I'm happy with it. Hope you're happy with it, and I will see you guys later.